Okay, I'm making a banana cream pie today, and I'm going to start with a very simple no roll crust. You can use this in any single crust pie. It's pretty flaky and it's got good flavor. And what I've got in the bowl, I've got a cup and a half of flour and a teaspoon of salt. You can add a tablespoon of sugar if you want, but I don't think it needs it. And what I'm going to add is a half cup of canola oil and 2 tablespoons of milk. I'm just going to mix that together, and then you're just going to pat it into the pie pan. And it'll feel a little oily. Just put it in your pie tin. I sprayed the pie tin with non-stick spray. This is pretty much oily enough that you shouldn't have to do that, but really makes the crust come out a little easier without sticking to the pan. And just spread it with your fingers and up the sides as evenly as you can get it. It's pretty forgiving. You can really mash it around good. And just pat it out as even as you can. You can fancy the rim up if you want. I'm baking it without the filling in it to start with, so I'm going to poke all the bottom with a fork just to try and keep it from bubbling up a bit. You can put in dried beans to help keep it flat if you like. They also sell weights that you can put in your pie but I just like to prick the bottom, and usually it works pretty well. I'm going to bake this at 350, and it will probably take between 10 and 15 minutes. And you just want it a nice golden brown, and I'm going to let it cool for a little bit before we fill it. Okay, my oven's a little off, so it's almost 20 minutes, and that's what you want, a nice golden brown you see around the rims. And you want to set that aside to cool while we're making the filling. So while the crust is cooling, we're going to make the filling. In here I have a cup of sugar and one third cup plus 2 tablespoons of flour, half a teaspoon of salt, and we're going to add 3 cups of milk. And we're just going to kind of mix it in slowly, so at least get that stirred in well first. And you're going to bring this over medium heat. You're going to cook it, and you're going to have to stir it fairly frequently until it starts to thicken, and that's going to take a good few minutes here to get that to keep stirring so it doesn't stick to. And as I said, you want to cook it till it starts to thicken, and you'll see it's starting to thicken. It leaves like this, and you want to cook it from here on out. It's been about 6 or 7 minutes, and you want to cook it for another 2 minutes once it reaches this point. Now we've cooked it an additional 2 minutes. We're going to add 3 beaten egg yolks, but what you need to do is you need to temper your eggs a little bit. So what you do is we have the 3 egg yolks beaten in a bowl here, and we're going to add a little bit of the pudding, so that we don't scramble the eggs. And then we're going to add the eggs back into the pudding, and we're going to cook it for 1 minute longer. And you pretty much need to stir constantly at this point because it will stick terribly. So it's back on the heat, and it's cooked for a minute more, and this is pretty much what you want. You'll see it's starting to boil. And now we're going to take this off the heat. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla, and I have a little banana extract, so I'm going to add probably about a half a teaspoon of banana extract just to give it a little extra flavor. And then you just want to mix it all in, stir till the butter is melted, and then I'm going to let it cool for maybe 10 minutes, and then I'll slice the bananas up and we'll pour it into the cooled shell. Now it's cooled off enough, I'm going to add the sliced bananas, and then we'll pour it into the pie shell. And you can leave it like that. You can put Cool Whip on it. You can make a, I'm going to make a meringue out of my leftover egg whites, so we'll do that after we get it into the pie shell. And I'm adding 3 bananas. You can add as many or as few as you want. You can make them any size. You can chunk them up however you want. This is the way we like them. Just mix them in. And this will finish setting up as it cools. I don't know if you saw, I had a piece of plastic wrap over the top while this was cooling. It keeps it from forming a skin. And if it doesn't all fit in your pie tin, you can eat what's left. Okay, I'm going to make the meringue to put on top. I've got the 3 egg whites in the bowl here. We're going to whip it. And as it starts to get frothy like this, I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of sugar, a little bit at a time. Okay, and I'm going to add just a pinch of cream of tartar. It just helps to stabilize the whites a little bit. We'll add that in and we're almost there. What you want is what's called stiff peaks. And what you do is when you lift that up, it forms a peak, and that's your stiffly beaten egg whites. And we're going to spread that all over the top of the pie. I'm just going to pile it on and spread it. You want to cover all of the filling right to the edge. And seal it right to the edges here. And we're going to bake this at 350 for 4 or 5 minutes. You just want it to get lightly browned on top.